So short-time Alaska Governor Sarah Palin has either removed herself from the Republican Party's leadership picture or she's pulling the all-time political psych on much of the traditional political establishment. She's been political topic #1 since she resigned Friday afternoon, and nobody appears to have a handle on what exactly she is doing.
It is not clear what her strategy here is.
Nobody knows whether it's going to pay off or not.
It's astounding.
I've read it once and seen it twice, and I still have no idea why she did this.
The power Sarah Palin presumably still holds is her appeal to the conservative, tax-hating, Obama-opposing, Tea Party-throwing Republican base. And that base provided the GOP with another holiday weekend surprise in the form of a little Independence Day rebellion. The chair of the National Republican Senatorial Committee, John Cornyn of Texas, was invited to speak at a 4th of July Tea Party in Austin on Saturday, and his welcome was not warm.
And lift the torch of liberty in the land.
Oh, yeah, he was booed, apparently for supporting the Wall Street bailout last year. Now, Texas Governor Rick Perry also spoke at the Tea Party and also got booed, reportedly over his support of toll roads. And that's a surprise because just a few months ago, Governor Perry worked a hospitable Tea Party crowd into a lather, after which he suggested, well, kind of suggested Texas might secede from the Union. And then there's last week's Republican flameout, South Carolina Governor Mark Sanford. As Governor Palin up and quit and Senator Cornyn and Governor Perry received the cold shoulder on a hot day from the base in Texas, the state newspaper in South Carolina reports today on a meeting of South Carolina's Republican Party Executive Committee. According to the paper, party leaders are trying to decide what to do about Governor Sanford and are considering a range of options from doing nothing to a public admonishment to a call for his resignation, which is what a majority of Republican senators in the state have already done. So right about now, Butch Otter and Dave Hyman are looking pretty good to the GOP. Never heard of them? Exactly. Staying off the front page may be the new secret weapon for presidential hopefuls. By the way, Mr. Otter is governor of Idaho and Mr. Hyman, governor of Nebraska. Joining us now to sort all this out, a difficult weekend in Republican politics, is Chris Hayes, Washington editor of The Nation magazine. Nice to see you again, Chris.
Good to see you, too.
Let's start with Sarah Palin. Is there any way this move could not take her out of the running for 2012?
Well, yeah. I mean, people's political obituaries have been written prematurely quite a bit in American politics. I think that if you were to say, are her chances of being the next president of the United States better or worse after her performance on Friday, I think the answer is clearly worse. But one of the things to keep in mind, and I thought it was a totally bizarre performance. I sort of agree with everyone else that it makes no sense, and I think should be the kind of final word on whether this is a serious contender for national office. All that said, I mean, when you're talking about who she needs to appeal to in the upcoming presidential primaries that start kind of ticking along, in 2010, 2011, you're dealing with a very intense, hardcore, very right-wing conservative group, and then she only has to win sort of pluralities of that group within a group. And so who knows how that sub-demographic received her speech?
Well, after listening to her speech, did you glean anything?
Did I glean anything at all?
Did you glean anything about why she resigned, I should say, specifically?
No, I didn't. I mean, I think if you read the text of the speech and you listen to it a few times, it takes some sort of a studious parsing to get through it. The one thing that's clear, and one of the reasons that the speech is so strange, is she's clearly trying to rebut a charge that isn't yet public, I think. So everything around the speech is getting out in front of upcoming charges, upcoming accusations, kind of trying to inoculate herself against something that may be coming down the pipe, but we have no idea what it is, and that's part of the reason the speech made no sense. I have no idea what it is. There's obviously been a lot of speculation, but the entire cast of the speech was sort of pointed towards preemptively rebutting whatever someone's going to say coming soon, perhaps.
I'm now going to call it the vaccine speech.
Yeah.
Now, if you'd asked me last week who would be in office longer, Mark Sanford or Sarah Palin, I would not have said Mark Sanford. Did he catch a break here?
Well, he did catch a break. I mean, But well, he caught a break. I really do think is completely out of 2012. I mean, I'm pretty willing to write his political obituary vis-a-vis the presidency. The thing to keep in mind is that however much he's knocked off the cable news networks and sort of the 24-hour news cycle in the national media, he's still got to answer to the constituents in South Carolina, and this is still dominating coverage, rightly so, in South Carolina. And I think that it's unclear whether whatever distraction there is at the national level is going to redound to his benefit locally.
Now, between the sex scandals of John Ensign and Mark Sanford and now this strange surprise resignation of Sarah Palin, the list of potential 2012 candidates from the GOP seems to be shrinking. Who do you think we should be watching?
We talked last week, and I think I said then that I thought Mitt Romney ultimately emerges stronger from this just by dint of the fact that he hasn't imploded in spectacular, horrifying fashion. I think that remains the case. I think he's sort of, the history of the Republican Party, they tend to kind of go with the kind of next in line. He is that, and he hasn't embarrassed himself recently, so I think it probably ends up benefiting him.
I want to go back to the base for just a minute, because part of Palin's big appeal is she loves the base, and the base loves her. Yep. But as we've seen with John Cornyn and Rick Perry, that tape, all those boos from people who were very much the base, that happened over the weekend. Can you kind of give us the context of how significant that was?
Well, the anecdotal booing you can sort of overinterpret, but I do think it was significant for a few reasons. One, I think that it shows that the politicians on the right and the Republican Party have very kind of cynically tried to manipulate and sort of use this Tea Party movement to the extent it's actually something organic. And I think that the people actually organizing that recognize that. They're not fools and they don't want to be used. Second of all, I think the anger isn't necessarily attached to very specific policies or ideologies, but kind of generally inchoate, a kind of throw the bums out, they're all screwing up sort of feeling. And I think that's actually a sense that a lot of people in the country have. And third, I think that it shows that, what we're going to see is on the right, what happened on the left when in its years in exile was that the anger was directed internal in the coalition by the sort of grassroots activists against the party leadership and the movement leadership feeling that they had let us down collectively. And I think what we're seeing is the exact same thing happening on the right. The anger and vitriol is going to be directed internally in the foreseeable future, because those are the people they need to unseat, the putative leaders of the Republican Party and the conservative movement.
Natural political behavior, if there's such a thing. Chris Hayes in Washington, the Washington editor of the Nation magazine. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.